Hi, I'm Zach, and in this video, we'll secure Grafana behind Pomerium and provide single sign-on access with JWTs. To complete this guide, you need Docker, Docker Compose, and a Pomerium 0 account. Let's get started. In the 0 console, create a new route, name it Grafana, select HTTPS as the protocol, enter the name of our service, which is Grafana, and select the external URL. We're going to name our service Grafana because we're using Docker and the default port is 3000. Going to select any authenticated user. And for header settings, we're going to enter Grafana here as the host name. Okay, let's save our route and apply our change set. So next we need to add Grafana to our Docker Compose file. Let's do that right here. We are using the latest version of Grafana. We are mapping ports 3000 between the host machine and the Docker container. This is also the default port to use for Grafana. Within these environment variables, we are actually configuring Grafana to use JWT authentication. Now, before we make any more changes, let's talk about these settings really fast. The sign out redirect URL tells Grafana where to direct users when they sign out. It requires the .pomerium/signout endpoint. The auth JWT header name tells Grafana which header to look for to find the JWT. We use the Pomerium JWT assertion format for Pomerium. And the JWT JWK set URL tells Grafana where to look to fetch the public key to verify that Pomerium signed the JWT for the user. Now the rest of these settings you can look up in the Grafana documentation, but let's keep going. So we need to update both of these URLs to use our cluster subdomain. Mine is trusted dog 1049. So lastly, we need to update the network alias defined in our Pomerium 0 container. Grafana uses this URL to fetch the public key from the JWKS endpoint, which is hosted by our authenticate service. Because we're using Docker containers, these two services can't speak to each other, so the alias allows them to communicate over the network. So let's go ahead and change that value to trusted dog 1049. So I fired up Docker Compose and I'm back in the 0 console. Let's see if our Grafana route works. And I have to authenticate. And you can see up here, this is the external URL that we used in our 0 console. Now I'm being prompted to log in, which is admin for the first time. Now I'm being prompted for a new password. Okay, so now I'm in. Now let's look really fast at our users. We can see we have one admin user, and that's for our server admin, and then also for our organization as well, main org, we only have one user. So let's configure JWT authentication and add more users. So back in our 0 console, let's go back to our Grafana route. We're going to go to the header settings and look for pass identity headers. And if you look at this, it says if applied, passes Pomerium JWT assertion header and JWT claims headers to the upstream application. Right now this is not enabled, so let's enable it and save our route and apply our change set. Now that we've configured Pomerium to forward the JWT assertion header, let's see what happens when we access Grafana now. So I'm prompted to authenticate against our identity provider. And once I do, I'm automatically signed in. You can see that this is me, and here's my user ID.